It's one of my favorite ones. I always tell everyone I was very lucky because I got into real estate in 2008. Technically got my license in 2009. Is anybody in real estate in 2008?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them what happened in 2008,
The market
2009?
crash and I became a short sale expert.
Yeah, you did become a short sale expert, that is for sure. And I'll never forget, like I first started in real estate, I had no idea that it was coming, right? I didn't know. And one of the coolest things is the shift book had just came out. I think Gary put it out at the
2009, I think, maybe.
I was gonna say eight, I think it was Family Reunion or Mega Camp.
Yeah.
That he like announced it. So our market center did like a shift book club. And so every single team meeting, we would go, it was like every single week we did a team meeting and we would go and we would learn a piece of the shift and they would teach it to us every single time. And I didn't realize when I was learning it, like how impactful that was going to be on me. And I used this entire chapter in every single one of my listing presentations from then on out. And I think it truly helped me to win. Like I think by the year I was telling you, I think that was my fifth year in real estate. And by that year, I was doing about 70% listings. So I didn't have my buyer's agent yet, so I wasn't a good 50-50. I wasn't doing right. Welcome.
I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
Don't
Come
need to be
on
tardy.
in.
Thanks so much.
You're fine. Make sure, McKenna, we need another one when you get a chance. So anyway, I didn't realize that by actually understanding this class, the level that I stood it, it allowed me to go into those listing appointments and went from a city that I didn't know anyone, right? I was a new agent that didn't know anyone to within 3 years, I was doing the majority of listings. And so I literally like thank Shift Tactic 7 for this. So I like to teach this a couple of times, or I used to like to make Rebecca teach it a couple of times at this market center. I was teaching it in Inglewood. Because I really want everyone to understand like how you utilize this. I believe in every listing appointment. I don't think it has to be just for if you're in a shift. That's just my opinion on it. Did you have an opinion on what you're?
Oh, I agree. I agree. I mean, I think, to be able to just have the conversation with them about, how buyers view listings and what kind of market we're in and market tells a story. And I like the math in it too.
I know, I do like the math. I get nerdy when it comes to that because I don't think it's our job as real estate agents to tell the buyers and sellers what they should pay for the house or sell the house for. I think it should be the numbers should tell the story. And then we're just interpret the numbers. We're the interpreter between the two. That's how I look at it. So who here knows anything about James Shaw's pivot clock thing? Do you guys know how that started?
Cool.
It started in COVID. So James with Bold Coach, right? He goes around the country. He's also TL, South Tulsa or South Florida, and he did all of the things. And then COVID hits, right? And everything shuts down. And it's miserable when that happens. And so he actually named that class Shift. It was the name of the group. And then because it's his and not Gary's, he had to change the name to Pivot Shift Ahead. That's how it got changed. But he literally started it off of, he had spent his entire career learning the shift book. And he preached on it and taught it, but nobody really listened because we hadn't had a shift. Then COVID happened and everyone was like, oh my gosh, our cheese got moved. What do we do? Right. And then that's how that group started. So I'm telling you guys all of this because I want you to understand we stand up here all the time and we talk about the MREA and all the models and all the systems. I believe the shift tactics takes those models and systems and like condenses them a little bit. That'd be my easiest way to describe what shift does and all of those. So we can get started on all of these things today. Does anybody have any questions or anything before we get started? Or what are you guys hoping to get out of class today? If you could learn one thing, what would it be?
For me, just to learn, exactly how to go into I've never done a presentation before, a listing presentation.
Okay.
What that looks like, how to put that together.
Perfect.
And, relay it to the client.
So The dirty secret, this is what I'm gonna call it, the dirty little secret is that most agents think that they go in and talk about themselves
Mhm.
and what they're gonna do to actually sell the property. But if you actually talk to the seller and find out what their needs and want and motivation is, that's how you can actually get the house priced right and sold quicker than anything else. And
That's
we'll
good
go
for
into
me.
detail on that.
That's good for me because I don't have a lot of experience, and when I sold my house, it's exactly what, oh, this is all about me. Actually, thinking back on when I sold my house, she came in and she's like, oh, this is all about me. And then she put that to the side. She's like, I'll just let you read through that. Like, she didn't sell herself, but she like had this whole packet and stat and all this stuff.
Well,
on
that's
her.
what everybody does.
And then she kind of broke down the stats, the market, and this and that. So
She actually did it right.
she did,
Because
yeah.
that's what we're gonna go over today.
Mhm.
Is there anything you guys wanna get out of it? In particular?
I think for me, I'm fortunate, knock on wood. I seem to have priced all my listings well. Um, or at least guided my sellers well. And let them know, listen, if you're gonna, okay, I will support you there, but we were most likely gonna sell for much less than that. You're gonna chase the market down. I think for me, it's not about pricing, it's the conversation. I can be very blunt. And I wanna learn how to be more, like, just speak more
Okay.
professionally about it.
Perfect.
Instead of,
Hurting their feelings.
no, I won't say hurting their feeling, maybe asking more questions.
Well, I was
I'm
literally
not sure
just
if we'll
going
get
to say
this out
that,
of
Larry.
there,
That's
but-
funny that you said that, because that's where my brain was going. One of the things I learned as a coach, right, is the more you talk, the more you're losing. Right? Like you don't actually win if I'm talking all the time. I literally have a timer, by the way, just a little side note. I have a timer when I'm doing my coaching calls, and I don't want to talk more than my client talks. And I make sure that I don't talk more than my client talks. And how you do that is you ask questions.
Yeah.
You ask them questions, and most people, and I would say this in coaching, this is in selling, this is in everything you do. Most people, if you tell them what to do, then everything is going to be your fault.
Yeah.
Every single time. But if it's their decision and they actually take that on themselves, first of all, it takes so much pressure off of us as agents. And B, they don't blame us anymore. The only person they can blame is themselves. So we're going to talk about that a lot today and how we can utilize that when we go into a listing appointment. What do you want to get out of it?
Something new, but I think.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you specifically.
Yeah, well, I think. Probably just better conversations, like one of the conversations I just had with the upcoming listing was. Well, we were just talking about how previously there wasn't any communication, and I said, well, typically there's no communication because they're not doing it. They put the sign in the yard and then they're like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna say? It's all my fault, because kind of, if you're not doing anything and communicating with them about what's happening in the market, I'm like. So like I have in my calendar every week, on Mondays, I do seller market updates. I call them, text them, email them, whatever they prefer, unless it warrants a conversation. So I think here I want to put that system in place even firmer on what those conversations every Monday look like.
Well, and I think what's interesting is sometimes it's not that they're not doing anything. I just know for a fact and we'll go into like days on market and absorption rate. When you have a really high absorption rate and you know that house isn't gonna sell for 11 months, that means you're gonna have the same conversation over and over and over with the person if we don't price it right to begin with. And I think that's really, I always laugh when we go into like the mastermind last week. I kind of laugh when people were like, let's talk about marketing or let's talk about this. I was like, that's really not anything about what we should be talking about here. Because the only thing is price and condition. And we're gonna go into that like really soon on that. So we'll work on that too. I just like to get an idea of what our goals are so I can help you guys get to those. So this is on perspective. And yes, I will have my glasses on because I don't read very well. Because when it's talking about when a market shifts, and I really think this is truthful for any time, there's there's three things that sell a house. What does everyone say sell the house?
Location.
Okay.
Condition.
Location
Yeah.
Condition.
And price,
and price. Those are the three things. What do we have control over?
price, condition.
And somewhat condition. They have control over conditions, though, but we don't have any control over the location, right? But we do have control over those two things. So as we're talking about it, pricing is the most important thing that we can do with the listing. Because we could market it all day, but if it's not in the right location, or if it's not priced right or not in the right condition, that's not going to sell. So it doesn't really matter. And it's talking about in a buyer's market, real estate becomes a commodity. And the only defining feature of a commodity is its price. When I read that, I was like, that one's really, really like that one's strong. Oh, it's a commodity, and the only defining feature is its price. And so only properties in good condition and price right will sell in the buyer's market. And I'm going to say in any market.
Is this
Price,
in our, I'm sorry, is this in our
yeah, this
Yeah,
is
that's
on perspective.
first page?
Mhm.
Oh, I need glasses.
Number 2, only properties in good condition and
See,
price right.
thank you.
Price can correct a bad condition. And then I actually highlighted this one. Correct pricing represents 80% of your marketing effort. And again, that goes back to when I hear people wanting to do brokers opens. My first question is when somebody's doing a brokers open, it's like, oh, you want price reduction. Right? Because it's 80% of how you're going to get the house sold is how you price it. This is how vitally important this is. And you don't want to waste your time or the seller's time. We're also going to talk about today that about there's going to be some listings you shouldn't take. And I'm going to tell you that's okay. And that's where it really gets hard is if you sit in and by the way, you also start gaining their respect when you say, I don't know that I'm the right person for you because I know I can't get that price. And so just kind of keep that in mind as we're talking about it. Not all listings are ours. Understand that only properties in the right condition and the right price and the right location are going to sell. So how do your sellers feel? Because sellers are going to look for an agent who are not afraid of the shifting market and have the knowledge. So when it was talking about here are all the things that you need, you're going to need pricing strategies. So I'm going to go over that today. Market knowledge, buyers, which of course we need a buyer, fiduciary commitment, negotiation skills, knowledge of financing options, look at the numbers together, show them what's selling, and be a realist. That's what it's saying that is needed at it. So what are our opportunities? Because in a buyer's market, buyers are going to tell you and think that they have control, right? They think that they have all of the control. And I think this is what we have to kind of realize. To do business, you need to find a motivated, qualified buyer. And the best way to find them is to have as many correctly priced listings as you can. Now, what is your aha on that one?
Start taking more listings.
Take more listings. But I think we think that our goal when we list the house is to go find more buyers, but really listing the house is helping us find more buyers. And this is why when we're talking about doing real estate, we say listings are the name of the game, because we know if we have a listing, we should be able to get at least 2 buyers if we're marketing it properly and doing what we need. And that's why they always say it's good to have a 50-50 business, because if you have the right leverage on your team and you have everything you need, you should be able to get at least 50% should be listings and at least 50% should be buyers in any business. So here are your sellers' opportunities. And this is where this kind of goes back to what you just said, Rebecca, with the seller opportunity, because most sellers are going to think that they don't have an opportunity in this scenario. Are you going to stay in class, McKenna, or are you just hanging out?
Hanging out for a little bit.
Okay, do you want one of these? You can learn something. I'll let you. Sellers are going to think that they don't have an opportunity, and that's okay. So here's what you guys need to know. You have to be a realist with this. So the way this kind of goes back, you have to be an optimist with them and you have to show them you know you can sell it. But I'm also going to be real with you and I'm going to tell you the truth. And by selling quickly, sellers can maximize their investment and minimize their losses. And then it says, remember the .com bust. The people who got out right away generally did fine. It was the people who got out in the end who did not do fine, right? It's the same thing is true with the listing. This is an excellent opportunity to move up. By selling now, your sellers may have the opportunity to get the house of their dreams, and sellers are relocating the market where they're going could be in a downturn as well. And here's what I also know about real estate. When does your clients actually make money on a property? Does anybody know when you actually make money?
7 to 10 years.
Huh? Sell in 10 years? What else?
When they buy.
It's when they actually buy the house, not when they sell it. And I think that's one of the little dirty secrets, because we think we're gonna go in and help them make money when we have a listing. But really, the buyer's agent that helped them was the one that was making the listing. So I think when it's talking about a downturn market, we may have to have the conversation with them that selling this house may not feel good, like they may not make the same amount of money. But what I'm gonna do as your agent is I'm gonna make sure that we make it when you buy the house. So that next time this never happens to you again. Does that all make sense to you guys? I think that's a twist most people don't pay attention to, but you're 100% right. It's when you buy a house. So, it says, get ready, study your market, pre-qualify your sellers and update your listing presentations and get the right price. So on page 11, it says getting the most out of this experience. Have you guys seen this page before? Does anybody ever actually talk to you about this page? Because here's what I'm gonna tell you about this page. Obviously, you're gonna have the prisoner, and this is the person who is made to be in this class because they have to. And so they're definitely not going to pay attention or learn anything. They're gonna have the vacationer, and I see this person show up a lot in classes. This is always the person that's gonna come into every single class late and leave early. They're usually texting the whole time, which you say is pretty true. Like we've seen these in this market center multiple times. You know that they're on vacation. They're not really here to learn. And then you actually have the explorer. And I really am hoping that everybody in here today is the explorer. And even if you just take one thing back with you, what is the one thing that if we put it into your business would make the biggest impact? So I always like to go over that one because I always kind of giggle that even though we go over it every single time, there's still people that say, "What this is another two every time." Okay. Study your market. Be the local economist of choice. Who's heard this before? Most of you have heard this before. I think this is one of the things I could say. I had an expansion team, I was on an expansion team, I did all the things. When I was on my last expansion team, which I joined, and I was the regional director for that particular expansion team, one of the things that he really went a lot on was being the local economist of choice. And I'm going to tell you, most agents don't do this. They don't actually understand the market at the level that then they can put that material in front of them and let the clients make an educated decision based off of the actual facts. It's one of the things that I love about Brian's class that he's doing later today is that he's going to go really deep on those numbers. I got really excited yesterday when you actually quoted something from that because it told me a couple things. See, I'm always paying attention. It told me that you actually study that and you pay attention to it and that you actually use it. And that's truthfully the most important thing that you can do in real estate is know those numbers. And that's not my skill. I'm not the numbers, like that's not what I loved doing. But what I found was the more that I did that, the more power I had. And I'm gonna actually give you some tricks on how to do that and how we should be doing those things, because I can promise you, people in this room are going to actually be the people in a year from now. Rebecca, you can help me pay attention to this. I believe this group of people is gonna probably sell more listings than anybody else.
Oh, right.
You can make a note on that, but that's gonna be my guess.
Starting
Can I ask
here.
a quick
and then
question?
moving.
You're on fire, lady. I'm gonna tell you, you're on fire, but this lady right here is
Everyone
fierce.
is.
So why do you think she's on fire? I'm just
Because she's putting the work in every day.
okay.
She's doing the deed. She's
Why else do you think she's on fire?
well, and she's super knowledgeable. Yeah.
How'd she get knowledgeable? Okay, McKenna.
Because not only did she learn the NRA and the methods that are behind the Keller Williams thing, but she taught it, so therefore she mastered it.
Oh,
She's definitely, and she's
did
good
you
at
guys just hear what she
conversation.
just said? She taught the class.
Mhm.
Did you learn more when you were teaching or when you were sitting?
Oh, yeah, teaching.
Every single time. I always tell everyone if I'm coaching them, if you really want to learn something, I'm going to challenge you to teach it. Because trust me, you're gonna pay a lot more attention. Nobody wants to stand up here and look dumb. I can promise you that. So you're gonna spend so much more time digging into it and learning it. And I say, so either chair that committee on ALC or teach that class, because you will master that at a level you have no idea how well you're doing it.
So when
And-
you bring Ignite back, we'll have to teach.
We
us
will,
that
we are,
thing.
that has been my thing. Rebecca, how long have I been preaching to teach Ignite in the market centers?
4 years.
Yeah,
Well, no, because we had it a couple of years ago, so since we moved. over
3 or
to-
4 years has
Yeah.
been my thing, like, we need to be teaching it in the market centers. I said, that was the very first class I taught, was an Ignite class.
Oh.
And I remember leaving that class, I was so high from all the adrenaline that I got, it was amazing. And you find really good buyer's agents, by the way, by doing that, and in there, you learn the agents, and side note on that. But I think when the point in this piece right here, and being the local economist of choice, is truly understanding that your clients are gonna believe what they've heard on TV. They're gonna believe what the other agents that came in there and blah, blah, blah to them. They actually are going to believe all of those things. So what we have to do is we have to go in there with the plan that we're gonna show them what the actual reality is. And half the time they might not like that reality. And we just have to show them that this is it, and we're gonna be real with you. Again, on the analyzing MLS, Brian's class. But I think that here's the other thing. When you're looking at the statistics, what is a comp? What is a comparable property? What are you looking at when you're looking at the comps?
Location.
So
Okay, square footage.
Bedrooms, bath.
Are you looking at what's sold?
Yes.
Okay, so what is what's sold?
The, yeah,
The past.
Bath,
It's what's already happened. It's not actually what's happening in the market center right now.
actives and things.
Mhm.
So thank you for bringing that up, because I feel like in Florida, a lot of agents are talking about, well, my listing is the best price listing in the whole neighborhood. So, and I'm like, well, but everything else, but it's all active. You're comparing yourself to an active home. And I hear it from all these agents, and they're like, but it doesn't matter what the comps say. It's my listing is the best price in the community.
So I'm gonna go
Do you
back.
hear that?
I'm gonna
All
go
the
back
time.
to 2008. I'm gonna tell you a story on this one. So Tony DeSella, who's Diana Kokoska's husband, I like to call Tony the GOAT of all coaches. Like, he is absolutely brilliant
what's
when
his
it
name?
comes. Tony DeSella.
Yes.
And he's an amazing person, one of the smartest men I've ever met.
Fellow. Sorry.
Vicelloo. TONY. So Tony was having a conversation with Joe Bogart from Denver, and it was a coaching conversation. And Joe was like, we're the best price house in the neighborhood, and it hasn't sold. And we'll go more on this with absorption rates too. And this was their call every single week. And every single week, what do you think Tony told him to do with his property? Or told him to reduce it.
Yeah.
Right? Every single time. And at one point, Tony goes, but we have reduced it so much. We're like, I think it was like $40,000 or $50,000 less than any other house. He goes, but you haven't actually sold the house yet, right? And he was like, no, and it's because the entire neighborhood is out of the market, and we're gonna go into that really deep. The entire neighborhood is out of the market. You're just still trying to find it. You're trying to get in the market. Because once you get in the market, you have the ability to sell. And I think that's what I see a lot here too, is I see a lot of agents that have never been educated on what they actually need to know to sell houses properly, which is why I'm so passionate about, let me show you what you need to know. Because I know if I can teach 5 of you guys this, you will be the top 5 agents. Because nobody else knows it. Like, truthfully, that's the key to the whole thing, is like really understanding what you're looking at and why. So I like to always say that the comps are the past. And we'll go into those even deeper, because I think that's where, again, it's not what happened yesterday. It's the combination of the whole picture. Think of it like a 360-degree picture. We need to know what happened in the past, and we don't want to make any of those mistakes again, right? But we also need to know what's happening now and what we can kind of see happening in the future. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
In your conversation, would you normally, talking about solds and speaking with, a client, potential client, consumer. I usually reference, we want to try to get as close to the sold as possible, because that's probably where your appraised value is going to be. And then, we'll look at the condition of the actives and try to price best in that scenario. Price as low underneath the top of the top active so that we can draw all the attention to us. So speaking on solds, would that be a correct like?
Okay, so we're gonna go into that a little bit more, so I'm actually glad you brought that up, because again, I did like economics in college. I went to a couple of
Hate numbers.
basic economics, but it's a supply and demand conversation. That's where we're getting at. It's basic, it's economics 101, and a house is gonna sell for what a seller is willing to sell it for, and a buyer is willing to pay for it. And we don't have any control over either one of those things.
Yeah.
All we can do is advise you. So that's kind of how I go on that, but I want you guys to go on page 15, because I want to go over this really, really well, because I actually coach to this a lot. Because it says use your MLS to track market numbers in their price range. Is anybody in here tracking any of this on a monthly basis yet?
Tracking them.
The MLS.
It's average days on market, new
Right.
listings per week per month, total active listings, total pending, total close, and total expired.
Yeah.
Do it weekly and monthly.
Huh?
I do it weekly and monthly.
Is there a better way, other than in the stats, to find days on market, other than,
That's all I know.
okay,
I found other information that's not always reliable, so that's why I go there.
So I want to go over that, Wayne, because I think that's awesome. And I coach every single one of my clients to have a separate spreadsheet. And usually I have them have their admin find it, but you can look this up every single week on MLS. But if you're paying attention to everything in every one of these categories, not just closed categories, what's going on in the MLS, I'm going to tell you, you're going to be one of the only agents that knows anything of what actually is happening. So you've been in the business for 14 months. You told me that the other day.
Yep.
How many houses have you sold?
I'm at 7 right now, got 1 pending right now for today, and I will take Rebecca out next year, so.
He's gonna beat you. So what would you say? I always like to say success leaves clues, Wayne. Actually, I'm gonna ask Rebecca. Can we talk about Wayne, like right in front of his face for a second?
yeah.
So what was your first observation about Wayne?
Why I knew that he'd be sitting in here and doing what he's doing is because he showed up, he studied the market, he does it every day, he's very
Ooh, he
consistent
doesn't win?
every day.
And not just some days,
Mhm.
not when he feels like it, every single day. The other thing that I can tell you about Wayne that I noticed is he's on the calls. He does
Mhm.
calls like nonstop every day. I'm just gonna tell you guys, success leaves clues. And it doesn't matter if you've been doing it for 14 months or you've been doing it for, how long have you been doing it?
26 years.
26 years. It doesn't matter if you're showing up in these classes, she's still here. She's taught the class, she's still here. Success leaves clues. I'm just gonna keep saying that over and over and over again. And so tell me a little bit about what your observations are, Wayne, when you're looking at these numbers. What do you notice before other agents notice it? Like Wayne, when you're looking at your numbers, that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
No, your numbers. I want you to think about the numbers that you're tracking.
Right, I'll do 2 other comments and I'm gonna jump to your question. On this, there's 2 other stats that I track that customers love in terms of the clients. One, what is the discount rate between original list and selling price?
So important.
That's an average.
And we're gonna go into that
I
too.
wanna know how to
And
find
I
that.
have some percentages on that that blow your mind.
And selling price. Original list, selling price. That to me is number 1. Number 2 becomes how many houses would discount? What percent of the market was discounted this week? Right? So when it's in the 2.
Yeah.
When you fire that out and say, okay, right now we're running around 12 to 13%. Now I'll show you, it's all in the numbers. 12 to 13% of homes are discounted every week, which accumulates about 50 to 55% every month. Brian will throw that number today as well. I'll say 51% of the houses.
He gets very
discounted
nerdy
next
on
month.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I've
do
been
too.
Brian on the numbers. They make my head
Here's
spin.
what I want you to understand though, you only have to pull the numbers that are there.
That's what I said.
So I
Yeah.
do love the.
And we're gonna show you how to
percentage.
pull a couple. I'm gonna show you how to do a couple of them today. So that I like the easy math. I don't do the hard math as well.
Yeah.
But what he's doing is actually making it easier for him. If you guys look at, this is Bruce Hardy's on page 16. It's obviously very old school. But I really recommend having a spreadsheet where you have every single one of these things on the spreadsheet. And then every single week, I used to like to do it on a Monday, you could do it on a Sunday, do it whatever day you wanted, go in and pull. Because here's the key. The thing about any of these things, it's a micro, not a macro. And it's a gradually and suddenly, right? And you will see the gradual change where every single week, all of a sudden, these numbers are lowering or increasing or whatever is going on in there. And you will be the first person that actually sees and knows what's happening in the market.
He's got that second last one is what he's got, the sales ratios exactly. I just put original price.
Yeah, that's why I was like, kind of skipped at that too, because I was like, some of what you're wanting is there. Is understanding like what's the absorption rate, we'll go over that, and what are some of these numbers? And why are these numbers important?
I usually do bring that up, well, when we had trying, I can't figure out how to find it out now, or it might be on the stats that you showed me. But I know it was on Trend Graphics, and I was obsessed with Trend Graphics. Because it would always give me the tools to be able to say, most homes are selling at 97% of their list price. So if you're pricing here, expect to sell here.
Well, and I'm gonna show you a different way of looking at that too, because that's not always true.
Okay.
I think that's where, because it has to do with how you price it at the very beginning.
Yeah,
There's two
that's
sides.
what yeah.
It's how you price it at the beginning is what actually makes
Yeah.
that. And we're gonna go over those numbers too. So this is called internalizing your numbers. And this is where, even if it's not your skill, which it wasn't mine, I started internalizing these numbers. I wanted to know when I went in to a listing appointment, I wanted that seller to understand I knew all there was about the market.
Yeah.
And I could give them, here's what you need to know.
It gives confidence. It makes
It
you feel
gives
so much
confidence,
more
and then they know that you have confidence in
Yeah.
what you're telling them, because they've heard 5 other real estate agents tell them that their house could sell at X price.
Right,
And you're going in there going, no, it's not gonna sell at that.
right.
And
I'm
nobody
gonna
wants
show
to
you
hear that.
why.
And
The best.
Because I
There,
understand the
now you're,
market.
that's what you're doing it. So again, be the economist of choice. I love this on page 17, where it was talking about, if we're not confident, like you said, how can we expect our customers to have confidence in us? So I really want you guys to dig deep in your confidence thing. And then if you read where it's talking about Jack, The Call of the Wild by Jack London, it says every day he would select a word. And then that way he would use that word 3 times in the same day. And that's how he actually became mastery of whatever the word was, right? I made him, like, here's my word of the day, I'm gonna use it 3 times. Same is true with the numbers. You're probably not going to learn them all at once, and that's okay. Just figure out what is the one that you want to pay attention to this week. Is it days on market? Is it price reductions? Whatever that one is, and figure out how to use that in the day. Gradually, then suddenly, I'm gonna keep saying that. Now, here's where everyone gets excited, because it says use formulas and graphs, right? Everybody just got very excited over that one. And here's what I want to say. It says, I'm here to discuss some factual information about our marketplace. What I'm going to show you is not necessarily what you want to see. But as your agent, I feel it's my responsibility to give you the data you need to know in order to make a good decision about selling your home in the shortest amount of time. Nobody said it was going to sell for the most amount of money in that sense. But we're talking about motivation and getting their house sold, because remember, they make money when they buy a house. The faster we get them sold in that listing, the faster we're going to get them to start making the money in the purchase. That makes sense? Because I always looked at it as I was the financial advisor of them when I went into any appointment. They're making the biggest decision they've ever probably made when they're selling their house and buying the next house. So that I was helping them grow their wealth. So I wanted to give them good data. I also was looking at it, if I was on the buy side, I knew I was going to sell that house eventually. So I wanted to make sure that they did it right. So I had an easier time of selling it too. That was my other 2 on this. So when it talks about formulas, there's 2 things that it's telling you should look at. One of them is the activity index, and the other is the absorption rate. Have you guys ever looked into these 2 numbers before? Okay, perfect. So a couple of you have, a couple of you are like, absolutely not. These are really, really important numbers. And we're going to kind of go over to it, because for the activity index, that's going to be your actives and pendings divided by your pendings. Does that make sense? So if you're looking at it in this one, you have 44 actives, 64 pendings, which is 108. And you're going to divide it by the pendings, which is 64. So you have a 59.3 activity index.
And can you like explain that a little bit more? Like what's the index part of it? Like,
So it talks about how hot or cold the market is.
okay.
So the
It has to-
higher the number, the hotter the market, the lower the number, the cooler.
And by hotter, and I'm even gonna go even more than that, because it's not just hot or cold, it's are the houses selling faster than they're being listed?
Okay. So
Okay,
buyer seller market.
kind of. I'm gonna say kind of yes on
Okay.
that, but like if you look, just look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Because it says 44 active, so you have 44 listings right now that have said that they want to sell,
Mhm.
that are new listings, and you have 64 that have gone under contract. So you know you're selling houses faster than houses are coming onto the market, which is why she said a hot market. A buyer's agent wouldn't think that was hot necessarily, which is kind of funny. So the higher the number, the listings are selling faster than they're coming on the market. So if you go down to the bottom, it says you have 52 actives, but only 18 are pending. So now that number is 25.7. So this is a number, Lori, that you use when you're going into this to the listing,
Mhm.
because if you can show them the houses are taking longer to sell than actually are selling,
Mhm.
now you can switch the conversation that you're having towards pricing it right
Mhm.
and pricing it less.
And I'll do it like in a whole area and then I'll break it down to just the community so that they see like both.
Yeah, I've never done that before. I usually say more homes are coming on the market than they are coming off.
And
you don't wanna
we
be
have to dumb it
stale.
down for the seller like
Yeah.
that. We can't
No,
use so much
I
big
do.
words.
No, I, yes, but at the same time, when I can confidently say, and know that I know the numbers and confidently say, the market index, the activity marketing index is 25.7, that tells us that's a low number and more homes are coming on the market than they are. People feel more confident when I
1,000%. When you
talk about
deliver
it,
it
yes,
that way as
yes.
well, right? So the
when I
absorption
throw
rate,
numbers in there, because they don't know.
the absorption rate is the number that we're looking at when we say if we didn't list another property and things were just selling, how many months would it take for us to have 0 properties on the market? That's what the absorption rate means. So like, for example, back in 2008, that absorption rate was about 8 to 9 months, which is a very long absorption rate. I think last year, wasn't it like 0.5 here?
Yeah,
It was like a ridiculously low number.
yeah, which is also another term, 4 months of inventory.
Okay,
How many months does it take to sell your home?
right.
Sarasota Manatee condos.
And I think it was
10.5.
0.5.
Is what?
Sarasota Manatee condos are 10.5 months supply.
Yeah.
Right now?
Yeah.
So what he's saying is,
But in the same frame.
since there's a lot of houses out there, you have a lot of competition. That's literally the CNN of understanding why these numbers. So how you do the absorption rate is you take the number of active homes on the market and the number of sales in the last 30 days. So if you had 44 homes and 27 of them sold, you have a 1.6. If you had 59 actives and 21 sold, you have a 2.8.
This is gold right here, like this room should be filled just.
I know.
this.
I know,
This is
I'm
like-
gonna make
this
a
is the
Facebook
class.
post and tell him if you
There's
missed
like
that
2 or
class.
3 that we're gonna get into. Like now you understand though, this is why I use this in every single one of my listing appointments. My listing appointment wasn't about, oh, we're gonna promote it here or I'm gonna do this. It was literally about the facts, just the facts. I think it said that in the beginning. It's just the facts, man. Go ahead.
So when a house goes pending, it comes off active, it must.
Yes. It's no longer inactive. It is one of the reasons too why we're looking at that behind the scenes. It's why we always push everyone to put stuff in command, even if it's gonna fall through at inspections or whatever, because it gives us a pretty clear picture of what's happening out there too, that we can see and all of those things. So, anyway, this kind of goes back, well, and again, I'm gonna go back to this, Laura, because it says not everybody likes to look at all these numbers like this. It's okay if you want to put it in a graph.
Yeah.
Like you do it whatever you think, how you
How do
like
you
to
do
learn.
that?
Huh?
How do you do that?
You could do this with AI anymore, honestly.
Okay,
I would just put the number in and say create a graph on it.
okay,
That's what I would do today versus trying to make my life hard.
yeah, no. I'm all about that.
Me too.
Which one would be better at creating a graph? Would Chat GPT create a good graph like that, or would?
Probably Claude, because we were talking
Yeah.
about that yesterday.
That's more decent. Let me see if Cloud will do it right now.
Some of them do graphs better. ChatGPT does an okay job on graphs, on those. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, where do you get the numbers from in the MLS?
Where do you find them?
I'll show you.
Okay,
And I have
they'll show you how to find all of those.
Like, I see you listed, but this is like for the whole state of Florida, right? Like, how do I?
so you, this is a hot sheet.
Okay.
We'll sit down and do this over, so we're not interrupting class, but, you wanna have that residential? And then.
One of the things I always did too is I had set, I created special searches for that info, so it would just send it to me. I didn't have to look it up as much.
That's
Just
a good
a little
idea.
side
Yeah.
tip. That worked a lot, worked really, really well. So I had pre-made searches that then I could just hit the search button every single time and it finds those things.
These are all new listings.
The states.
Yeah. No.
So I always do when I'm, you know,
Here in Lakewood.
listing appointment, I always try to figure out their disc profile too.
I'll show you.
Like, who, do they both need numbers, like really?
Are they gonna be the high C that I gotta have everything?
Yeah.
Or are they gonna be a D and just wanna get to it? I'm a big with that. And I think this goes back to like approach this on page.
Are you gonna be here tomorrow?
Now we're on page, I don't know what page this is, 23, approach sellers. But here's what we're talking about, when we are at this approach sellers piece, this is what I want you guys to hear. Is when we're at the approach sellers piece, we're looking at what's their motivation, what is their why? When I went down into a listing appointment, this was the main purpose of my listing appointment. When you're going back to the asking questions.
Just gonna say
I
that.
wanted to go 3 or 4 deep with them. And so if they told me, so why are you wanting to move? Well, we're wanting to move to Denver. I didn't leave it at that. So what's important to you about moving to Denver? Well, we want to move to Denver because my grandkids live in Denver, which mine do. My grandkids live in Denver and I want to live closer to my grandkids so that I can see them all the time. Well, what's important about that for you? Well, then I could take them to school and like they'll go into detail. So who else could be impacted by if you move to Denver? Oh, well, the grandkids, because now they get to spend time with their grandparents. Like you get them to go into the emotions. I always think logic makes us think, emotion makes us act. You're pulling out every single, this is why they're wanting to move. They're gonna say they were gonna want to get the most amount of price. What'd you find out, Rebecca?
So this was Claude, I just did it for the community that I had a listing coming up
Yeah.
for the past 30 days, and Claude just put it in herself.
And so she did that in like 2 minutes in class, you guys, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Use these AI tools to cheat sheet this stuff, cause
She like Claude there in the chat.
It's more detailed, which I'm not, so I need more details, cause I'll take the fluff all day, you know,
and what's interesting about that too is how many when you go on a listing appointment, how many other people have anything even remotely like that?
well, no, they're not, and you know, I mean, for me, I'm like high D, high I. I have literally almost no S, and my C is okay, but it's not there. But I would like believe somebody that showed me charts and graphs, even though I don't need them. Like I don't have a C that craves it, but I still am like, it's easy to see. I'd rather see a picture and I believe it. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden this is complete truth because you brought me a chart and a graph.
I want a listing like that. I brought the trend graphics report.
Yeah.
That shows active days on market, percent of original list to sale price. And I was competing against 2 other, it was my second year maybe, 2 seasoned agents. So I was like, there's no way I got it. And I did keep following up. I hadn't heard from them, so a couple days later, did you have interviews with the other agents? How did it go? Have you guys made a decision? I've made a decision the following week, and they end up calling me and asking me to list. And when I went to sign the paperwork, I asked them why they chose me over the other ones, and they said because I brought data, and the other ones just brought nothing.
I think that's really the key, and this is why we're talking about our listing appointment, and we're talking about the presentation. Do we want the presentation to be like, yeah, it's great. Doesn't really matter.
It's gonna win.
I just had one thing on my listing thing and it was just to remind me what to say. Like, that's how I did my listing appointments. I didn't need to give them a whole bunch of fluff. I'm on so high D, obviously, so I just wanted to like, here's what you need to know kind of scenario. But how do you do, here's some questions that, and I wanted to go over these with you guys. When you sell this house, where are you going next? How soon do you need to be there? Why are you moving? Have you ever thought of selling yourself? I like this one. What do you expect a real estate agent to do to get your property sold? That's a very important one. What do you owe on your property? What do you want to list your home for? If you're not sure, just give me a price range. And what are your plans if the house doesn't sell? Does anybody have any other questions that they have when they go on listing appointments?
I asked what their plan B is if it doesn't sell.
It's a good one. Because it's kind of like a takeaway.
I asked, do you need the funds from this home to purchase a new home? And,
It's a good question.
I asked, did you, sometimes, not always, but I usually get better. Did you have a price in mind?
Yeah, always.
Uh,
I mean,
You always ask that one too?
always, it's one of the first questions I ask so that I know which direction I need to go.
Yeah. And then I asked one more, or is there, do you need a certain amount of funds from the sale of the house?
I think that's really the key question, you guys, and it's how I always did it. It really doesn't matter what you sell your house for, right? None of those things actually matter. The only thing that matters is what goes in your pocket when you close on the property.
Yeah, what do you need?
What's that number? And then we can negotiate it so that we can make sure that you get at least that amount of money. Do you have a question, Wayne, that I thought?
No, that was it, just what they think a house is worth.
Okay. Cause I think that's really the key is where a lot of other agents talk about, well, we sold the house for so much. I always want to go, what were the terms to that? Like, what other things did you have to give away to sell it at that price? So I think it's really letting them understand it's not just price, it's price and terms. It's both of those things together. So I need to know what amount of money you need in your pocket so that we can make that work. So it's a win for the buyers and a win for the sellers.
What terms you're willing to negotiate on? It's a good one.
Because if you ask all these questions and they tell you they have to move fast, then they might be willing to take a lesser price to get the terms that they want. If it's not an issue, then maybe they would take some other terms and because it's more important that their house sold at X price. So this motivation is the key to how you can actually negotiate it and get it priced right and sold quickly. Like I'm very big on the motivation. And Diana Kokoska always taught us that it doesn't matter if they actually like you in the listing appointment or that you have things in common. Oh, I fish too, or I love Disney World. Like she's told all these stories a billion times. But it really was, I'm going to sell your house fast and here's how I'm going to do it. And that's how she sold as many houses as she did. So page 24, update your listing presentation. So this says in a seller's market, focus on your listing presentation and comparable features. So here's what it wants you to do on your to-do list. Tell the truth. Leverage the media. Listen for responsiveness, learn new scripts, and be prepared to answer objections. None of them say make a pretty listing presentation, by the way. So on the tell the truth one, I think I like this very first one. It says, don't be afraid to be honest. You don't make the market, you just interpret it. Don't shoot the messenger. And I think that's the key is I'm here as your agent to interpret what we're seeing here. So let's look at the numbers and talk about what that actually means to you.
What was it that Claude came up with yesterday? Or I think it was Claude, I'm not a price pleaser or something.
That was who said that.
Okay.
You said that about the price.
No, that was mine.
Was
Yeah.
it yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was surprised that it said that I'm not a price pleaser.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so true.
Yeah.
Then I love this one. It's like, if I care enough about you to be strong up front to get the right price, they will lose money, not make it if they insist on a higher price. And we're going to go deeper into that one. Their monthly house payments will add up while the prices for comparable properties around them get lower by the month. How many of you guys have ever used, if you're doing the math of where they want to price it, have used what their current mortgage is in the conversation?
Never, not once, never asked.
Because if you think about it, every single month that they're in that house, they have an outlay of payments. And it's even worse when the house is vacant, right? I would say houses like to be loved. So they need people running this system through it at all times. But if they're looking at selling it and they want to get it sold quickly, but their mortgage is like pretty high with a high, especially if they just, finance is a higher interest rate. Those numbers add up really quick, you guys.
Mhm.
And that could be the difference in the price piece. It's like actually understanding, do they really understand what it's costing them? This is the cost. What is costing them to not get it sold quickly and to get into their new house, which again is where they make the most amount of money. So
That's part of the
So
fee.
three, so if your mortgage, your taxes, your insurance, your HOA come out to $6,000 a month and you're on the market for 4 months, that's 24,000, right?
Yeah,
24,000. 24,000, whereas if you price right, you're on the market for 30 days.
Well, I'm just gonna wait till you hear the next numbers.
That's a lot of money.
Pop out in a little bit. I wrote these down specifically because I was like, this is a pain. So make sure when you're talking about that in the listing presentation, and again, leveraging the media, knowledge is power. And it says you don't have to have the numbers to demonstrate that during the listing. Oh, saying back up this news story. And it says the headlines may say that the local market's down 12%. However, if you're like Trish and you look at what is it in this particular neighborhood, it could be down 20%. And if you don't have those numbers, you're gonna actually lose the listing. So it's understanding the macro and the micro markets. Everybody clear on all that?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't even listen to you because it was my son.
That's okay. It's understanding what the MLS states, but it's also understanding what their neighborhood is stating.
Yeah, it's hyper local.
Hyper local, because if you know that on average, everything's down 12%, but their hyper local market's down 20%, you're gonna have to price that accordingly.
Do you, if, or anybody,
Mhm.
let me see, so since real estate is really hyper local, I've run into an issue where that certain neighborhood, there's not much activity, there's not much sold, there has been nothing sold in there in the last year, only one. How far out do you
I think you
guys
have to look at so
consider-
many different factors, because you have to look at, did it not sell because it was all overpriced? Did it not sell because people are living in that neighborhood for a
Yeah.
very long time, which means that you could get a higher price? I'd want to know all the details as to why
But
to
how,
be able to.
but how would you price the home accordingly if there's not much to compare it to, I guess is my point.
Okay, so for example, if I knew that nothing in this neighborhood had sold in 7 years, because everybody likes to stay there, but it's a really desirable neighborhood, you could let them price it a little bit higher.
I getcha.
So you gotta understand all the
I
details of why in order to answer that question.
And then I would just go to comparable communities,
Yeah,
and
That
see.
are, no matter how far out they are, I mean, I know you wanna see as close as
Within the zip
possible.
code.
Yeah,
Look at the zip code.
unless you're on the cusp of the zip code,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Try to stay in the zip code.
Mhm. Or
Sorry,
a school district, or you know what I mean, try and keep as
that's a
like,
good one.
yeah. Try and keep as like as you can, but you're gonna have to go out until you find something
Yeah,
to warrant it, and then we have an appraiser in the office.
yeah, so I think that's what makes me nervous is.
we're actually looking at, we talked to her yesterday about teaching a class. She's way more comfortable about teaching it in Inglewood, weirdly enough. And so we're working, Brian and I actually talked about this last night, about doing how he used to price all of his properties. And so we are working on that, by the way.
Yeah,
bringing
that
that in.
makes
That's
me
very
nervous,
important.
like right, am I gonna even be close to? an
It'd be
appraised
great to have a
product?
CMA class.
So,
And the county gives a good
huh?
idea.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
mean on the maps or the map, the county?
No, on the,
assessment?
the county assessment, they give you a kind of like a good
General,
ballpark
yeah.
anyway, yeah,
Seen them way off,
yeah.
so I try not, I look.
You mean the
but-
property appraiser?
No, just the real, the RVM,
But
Oh, that one, I said, yeah.
yeah.
But what she's saying is actually, I mean, if I had a couple properties that were very, very difficult, I did suggest to the seller that they
Get
get
a
an
price,
appraisal,
and
because then that at least gives you a ballpark.
they still priced 50,000 over.
Well, of course it is. Of course it is. Okay. Are you kidding me? The other thing I want to point out to you guys when we're talking about sellers is on page 25 talks about listen for responsiveness. And is the seller ready to face reality? Because sometimes they're not ready yet. They need to get hurt just a little bit longer. They
Price
feel a little bit
$50,000
more
over.
comfortable. So does your seller want to chat on the couch rather than sit at the table and look at the numbers? Are they reluctant to disclose information about the mortgage or their financial situation? Or are they oblivious? Because I'm just going to tell you, if you go into a listing agreement and know that, you probably shouldn't pick that listing. That should be probably one of those listings that you just say next. Cause they're going to be the person that takes the most amount of time and effort, and their house is probably never gonna sell. So you're gonna be in reality, they also have to be in reality. So when I was talking about some scripts and dialogues, I loved this one on Go Fish. I'm gonna read it to you guys, because this was what Martin Bowman does. And if you've heard this before, tell me. But it says you can have the best bait, and you can have the best boat, and you can have the best fishing equipment. However, if you throw the bait out of the boat, the line, and it goes down 10 feet, and the fish are actually down at 40 feet, they're not going to bite, right? There's no fish at 10 feet. They're still not going to bite because the fish are down 40 feet. But we can see where they are from the boat. But we can't see where they are from the boat, can we? So we fish. We keep lowering the line until all of a sudden, guess where your bait is? Right in the middle of the fish, and you have a feeding frenzy. So pricing your house in a shifted market is a lot like fishing. We can't see the fish, so we just keep lowering the bait until they bite.
That's really.
Huh?
That's a good one.
I think that one was really, really good, and it seems like it goes right to the whole thing.
So it sounds like they're talking about an overpriced listing. Okay, just make sure. on
Seller
the
wants
same
the price
page.
of 50,000 over the
Yeah.
appraisal.
Yes.
Like that's where that goes into account. And I liked also the ceiling and the floor. Where it says we're in a seller's market and the last sale becomes the floor of what you could possibly get.
Yes.
But in a buyer's market, which is I think we can all say that's where we are right now, the last sale is going to be the ceiling of what you're going to get. So we're always pricing them a little bit less than what is sold, factoring in what the market is doing right now.
Yep.
I thought that one was also a good one, is because we're looking in the past, but we already know that this is ceiling, so we've got to get below it.
Yep.
And then the last one is Doctor. This is a Diana one. If you went to the doctor and the doctor told you you had a terrible disease, would you want to be told the truth, or would you want to be told, go home and have fun? Of course, you'd want them to tell you what you had and what to do to get better. Well, I'm the professional, like a doctor, and I'm telling you the market shows we need to price it right. Otherwise, you're going to have a terrible disease called no showings. And when you have no showings in a market, that's going to go down every month. You're losing money daily. You want the most amount of money for your home, don't you? I love that one.
So
too.
Diana.
Yeah.
I know, it's like the last one. It's like, don't you? Yeah.
That's, so, yeah.
Love that one. So I think again, it's like, what is the script that works for you? What's the analogy of how you're going to use it? Whatever feels most authentic. Use those things in the listing to put it into a different perspective.
I like the fishing one.
I like the bubble, the .com bubble, the one we talked about in the very beginning. If you remember the .com bubble, most people that got out quickly saved.
They
most
were
money.
fine.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have lost some money, but they were
They
fine.
saved the most
People that
money, yeah.
didn't,
Yeah.
it was
They
brutal.
lost.
It was brutal.
Which side of the fence do you want to be on?
Yeah, which one would you like? Choice is
Oh, I
yours.
love that. Which one would you like?
Choice is yours, because it is. Communicate effectively. So spend time practicing the scripts, because professionals practice until they can't get it wrong, not until they get it right. Now, you guys have probably heard Diane would go over that one like crazy. So I'm just gonna say my biggest tip on this one is to use AI, like we've been bringing into those classes a lot. If you use AI to be your script and role play partner, and you just keep asking it to get tougher on you, you'll get to where you're going to internalize all of these. And then be prepared to answer objections. So I like this one too, is if you go in and you have all of your objection handling ready to go. It said in the first one, send out a CMA, send out a thorough CMA in your pre-listing packet. So you're having them look at it before you ever get there, and they can absorb some of the information. And then I like it where it says, head them off in the past. Put the objections out there immediately and then sweep them off the table. So instead of waiting until they come up with the objections, you just come up with the objections. Several of the most common objections can be addressed during your analysis of the numbers. With this powerful strategy, you will avoid getting into a discussion with them later. They will already have understood the logic. So I think the key again in that is using the numbers to paint the picture in such a way that when you ask them what their decision is, they're going to actually tell you the amount that you already have in your head as to what they should sell their house for. And you didn't even have to tell them any of these things.
So do you agree with sending a CMA?
Huh?
Do you agree with sending out a CMA?
Well, especially if they're a high C, I'm gonna say yes. Think of how much time you could save.
What's a high C?
That's your engineer. And they want to know every number and everything behind the numbers, and they're going to come up with a whole list of questions based off of that CMA. But they're also going to look at it in a logical way in that, and so they're going to come up with a logical decision. There's no emotion in the numbers.
Right.
You can't have emotion there. So you're taking that piece out. Had you never thought about doing that before?
I don't like leaving on the CMA.
Okay.
I've never done it just because I think it gives them, like, if I leave them all the information, then they can pick their cousin Louie, the realtor at ABC Realty. And
I think the key to this is we're going to give them the CMA, but we're going to come in and explain what it actually is. And their cousin probably isn't going to be able to do that.
true.
So I usually send the RPR because it'll show pictures and I'll say, take a look through this, take a look through this before I come and visit and compare your home to these homes. Take a look at the pictures and how they compare to your home. And then we're gonna sit down and go through them together and help you determine price.
You're sending out three, you're sending sold pending for sale.
Yep, and sometimes expired every now and then.
I like sending the expires because these houses then never sell.
I take a lot of those pages out and just send report, like I don't send my bio, I don't send the walkability,
Do you send your bio before?
no.
You don't send your bio? The pre-nos. Oh,
I usually have a listing packet with me though, and a folder,
Yeah.
and I'll have my bio on that,
I send that out, so it's out of the way,
yeah.
but I'm not, Rebecca, I have not sent.
But I also I have to say, I probably don't focus on my bio because I get a lot of mostly referrals.
Sure.
So they already know me, or their friend is my friend and their friend trusts me, so they're already like, let's sign, and so I've been very lucky.
That's called a database, by the way. Referrals. We love them. I highlighted on the room to negotiate that Bruce Hardy. I love Bruce Hardy. He always comes up with good ones. Many people who tell me they agree with my CMA will still want to price their house higher, so they have some room to negotiate. We've never had that happen. I need to share with you that there are two problems with that strategy. Number one, the people who can afford your house won't look at it because it's outside their price range. And number two, the people who do see it are comparing it to the others that are worth more, and as a consequence, won't make you any offers.
Yeah, don't be the pinball
I
machine.
thought this was a great script because it punches them right in the gut on that, why you don't overprice it. So on page 29, there's going to be two or three different other scripts on some common price objections. Go for it.
On that same last one, if you negotiate, I also say you can price house two ways, price it to sell your house, or price it to sell someone else's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah. I say you don't want to be the pinball machine where buyers are bouncing off of your home and going to the next because you're overpriced. They're just using yours as comparable.
It's a good one. I love that too. So let's move to get the right price. This is on page 31. Get the right price. Now that you're there, right, and we're working with motivated sellers, we've already asked them all the questions. The best price we can bring out of the market right now is a tremendous service we can offer to our sellers. So I kind of love that one too. So this is where we're going to actually allow ourselves to self-discover. And I think this is the most important part is I see so many agents. I really love it too when you're negotiating and said, we only want to accept this. Well, you're not a part of the buyer and the seller process. You're just the agent. Has nothing to do with that. I mean, Wayne's laughing. It's like we've got to take ourselves out of it when the best way to do that is allow them to self-discover. And I'll just be honest with you, I set up my listing appointments in such a way that my clients knew if we did not sell a house in this period of time, and we'll go over that in a minute, we were gonna need a price reduction.
Mhm,
And I can't tell you how many times seller called me and said, I think it's time for a price reduction.
mhm.
I'm gonna tell you, my life was so much easier because I didn't have to call them back then. So as we're doing this, remember you're setting this up for that. Adults don't want to be told what to do. In fact, psychology suggests that adults will actually become more resistant to change if they perceive they're being told what to do. Like if you haven't highlighted that, you guys should probably just highlight that real quick. Because psychological studies suggest that adults will actually become more resistant to change if they believe they are being told what to do. We're on page 31. And here's some questions that you can ask. Looking at all the comparables here in the MLS for your neighborhood, how much would you be willing to pay for your house if you were a buyer today? Have any of you ever used that psychology before? Because I use that one too.
Yeah.
If I had somebody really difficult and I do what you did is send them the pictures and say, so based off of this, what would you pay for this house? Number two, given what I've shown you about the market, what do you think your house will sell for? And number three, what do you think we need to do? Here are the numbers. So again, use these numbers to work into what you believe is the price. And then the tale of two markets, if you guys have ever read Charles Dickens, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom and it was the age of foolishness. And when we were looking at, if you read in the shift, I think it's in the very first chapter, it talks about this tale of two cities. And usually you have two separate markets, right? We have the houses that are priced right, that are going to sell really, really quickly. And then we have the houses that aren't priced right and probably aren't, condition isn't there. They don't have location, condition, or price. Sometimes they're missing all three of those things, right? Because they weren't able to come to the reality. So as you look at all these, it's the 80-20 principle. 80% of grossly overpriced listings are competing against one another and languishing on the market for a year or more. And buyers are competing for the 20% of properties that are accurately and attractively priced. And when the strategy is to use these well-priced properties are seeing multiple offers. Now I'm going to get to like my favorite part of this, and this is the graph. And already Rebecca's like, yes, mine too. This was truly, I love these graphs, and I had these in my listing appointment, by the way, because it's really, we're telling a story. Because if you're looking at the first one, this is a seller's market, right? Because you have a whole bunch of in the market and very little space out of the market. This is where we were in 2021. When houses were flying off the market and we had 20 multiple offers at one time. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it was nuts. Right after, because COVID hit, it was crazy. Then 2021 hit and it was crazy in a whole different kind of way. And then everything has just kind of been on this roller coaster since then. So when we're looking at this, this is a strong seller's market. You don't actually have to do anything to sell a house. I'm just going to tell you. Well, let's move to the other two, because I think these are really where you want to look at this buyer's market. If you're looking at the top graph, it's going to show you your price with the comps and then your condition versus the comps. And do you guys see how little the little square is to be in the market? This is where skill actually matters more than anything, because you have to show the seller, we don't want to be priced out of the market. That means nobody's going to buy your house and it's not going to get closed. We actually have to price it in such a way that we're actually going to be in that 20%, the 80-20 principle, so that your house is one of the 20% getting multiple offers. I use this third one in every single listing presentation I did, because this one was even more key. In order to sell your listing, you must be in the top 30% in condition and then bottom 30% of price. So think about that. And that's out of all the listings. You have to be in the top of condition, 30%, and the bottom in price. So if you look at this particular graph, it shows the in the market at the same one as the one above it, but it actually splits up the out of the market. So the out of the market is at the very end, and in the middle is no man's land. And no man's land is the one space that is like, I'm gonna say it's like it's the listing killer space. Because this is where, when we allow them to price at $10,000, $20,000 more, 50,000 more than appraisal. This is what they're actually doing, Lori. And this is why this particular graph will actually, sellers will actually look at this and understand what you're talking about.
But this doesn't make sense to me because it says in order to sell your listing must be in the top 30% in condition, but the 30% is in no man's land.
Well,
Am I reading this wrong? So that I
No
can
man's land.
understand?
No man's land is when you're getting
Am I
action
right?
No,
activity.
it's a third. You add
There's a
32
third.
to each one, so
Yeah.
the bottom is a third and the middle is
Third,
another.
third,
third.
third.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
so
this-
look at-
Okay, I'm looking at the percentage. Okay.
but do you see how, Adam? But do you see how important though it is to understand these two? Because what we're doing is we're actually teaching our sellers what they actually need to know. We're not gonna be that agent that goes in and goes, oh, this looks a little bit, we'll try it at this one. And if it doesn't sell, then we'll reduce it. What we're really saying here is it's not gonna sell.
Yeah.
You're gonna be in no man's land and you're gonna languish on the market forever and ever.
And chase the market down. and
Verify
make
that
money.
you can use the for sales that have been there for 120 days and saying, here's a similar home, not the same, but a similar home. Look how long it's lasted, because they're in no man's land. They're too far out, market from that is.
What I've been doing lately is looking at the hot sheet and looking at the actives and pendings and solds and going back in the history and seeing how many price reductions that they've actually had and how much money they've lost.
That was one of the
usually-
exercises I had all my mass clients do, is I had them go back to their actual listings. And I said, I want you to, every listing that actually listed at the price you suggested. I want you to put how many days on market those houses were, like I had them do a
Good
sheet.
idea.
How many days on market, and then how far from the list price did they sell? And then I want you to do the exact same thing with the houses that they absolutely refused to list it at your price. They wanted to list it, they wanted to try the market at that. And every single time, it took them longer than the other, and it sold dramatically less than the other. And I've got the exact numbers. We're gonna go over it for your market.
Last week.
I'm gonna give you a cheat sheet on what Ryan's gonna talk about at 2:30, because I'm gonna tell you, I had him tell me the numbers, so I could use it in this class today. So you guys will hear it before everyone else hears it.
Last week it was the average was 6 to 8 reductions before it sold. And about between 50 and 55%, $50 and $55,000 that they lost.
So see, this is what I'm saying, you do like the numbers, you just like to tell yourself you don't.
No,
You
like,
should know.
I think as soon as I see that percentage sign, I'm like, I don't understand.
That's okay, you do understand.
Yeah,
You do
I don't
get it.
know.
I've heard you a couple of times. It's not that. So this is where, again, I like this little chart again. It's very, obviously this is probably written in like 2009. But here's some listings. So this is where you can look at what's in the market, on the market, or in no man's land. One of the exercises my coach always had me do was, at what price would this house need to be priced in order to sell today? And actually, because then it caused me to go in and look at all this information. Once I did that, then I could have a more educated conversation with my sellers to reduce the price on that. So I would highly recommend, if you're not using that in your listing appointment, to use it. And then obviously, like I said earlier, supply and demand is really the basis of what we're doing in the real estate market. Page 36, Lori. When pricing your home, sellers need to actually obey the law of supply and demand. Because a seller's market is a market which has more buyers than sellers. High prices result from this excess demand of oversupply. And a buyer's market is where they have more sellers than buyers, and low prices result from this supply over demand. So when we're pricing a house, it really does have to do with what's the market out there, what's our competition. One of the things so our particular, our season was March, April, and May, where I was before. So January and February were pretty slow, opposite here. But one of the things that I did is, if you really actually wanted to sell your house for the most amount of money and the quickest, then you need to have your house listed in February. Cause if you can list it in January or February, every single person that's gonna be looking in the market is going to see that property. Like you will get it sold. It will sold quickly and it'll sell for the most amount of money because you're gonna be one of the first houses that sell. If you're one of the last houses, now all of a sudden you have more competition, you're gonna sell for less. And I use that a lot. I think this is one thing that we should be doing in this market in like August and September here. Especially when it's really hot, people are gonna give you all of the objections, but if we're really telling them the truth, they probably can sell their house for the most amount of money in that period of time.
That because a lot of people are gonna start buying in the next one.
Well, they start looking before they're almost ready to buy, but if you find, I mean, how many of you guys have thought, I'm gonna start like looking for a new car or looking, and then you actually find like the perfect car? Like, I don't know about you, but I'm not patient. I wanna go buy it right then. I don't wanna wait for it. And I think that's true with houses too. And that's why I always like, one of the things, Mark King was my business partner, and one of the things Mark King taught me was if everybody is running left, you go right. Like, what is the one thing you have to do just a little bit differently so that you're making it happen? And we should be advising our clients the same thing.
So July, August probably would be the best, right? Because that's when they're just starting to look, thinking like, okay, in the next couple of months, it's gonna be really
Yeah,
nice.
because everyone's
So-
gonna tell you the same time of year. I can promise you that. They all do. Every single one of them.
I usually say October, November.
Huh?
I usually say October, November, because they're gonna start looking before they come down to see what they wanna see when they're down here. And if it's somebody that really likes it, they're gonna call me.
Yeah, usually January is like
Yeah, January through May
It's
is
nuts.
yeah.
so we wanna start building it up before everyone gets there. That's the key.
July and August,
I'm also gonna say the other thing in that, I think people take the summer off. They don't work as much.
no lies.
So- I always wanted to be the person that was working when everybody was taking that time off,
Yeah,
cause everybody's off. I'll sell more houses than you.
yeah.
That was
Same thing
December
happens
for
in
us.
December.
That was December, and by the way, December was always, I always sold more houses in December than any other month,
Same.
cause I was very purposeful about it.
Yeah.
And I work with investors, and that's a whole different story too, but. Okay, don't chase the market, and I think this is the other thing when we're talking about it. It says when the market is going up or down, you want to price your listings ahead of the market. You don't want to be chasing it. Cause the thing is with the no man's land is if you're in no man's land, you're constantly gonna have to be doing price reductions to catch back up just to get into the market. And I think this is where, again, we wanna make sure everybody understands, you're in a race against time. The best price you're gonna get is the one that you get now. If you wait, it will be lower. And I think that's where, again, putting them into reality. And then here's the graph on time on pricing. I always had I always used a graph in my listing presentation, and then the graph was on how many showings, how the majority of houses sold within the first 4 weeks of hitting the market on average. And the graph was such to show that the longer out it went, the longer time it took for them to sell. And that's how I also use the price adjustment conversation, because you might need to we'll get you one,
She's gonna grab her.
that's how we used to do the price adjustment. I mean, how the price adjustment thing was, because my sellers would start getting antsy because they knew that they'd been on the market for 3 weeks. Now they're like, oh my gosh, if I let it go past 4, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, 21 days of market attention.
1000%. And knowing those numbers, and if you're tracking it like we talked about earlier, you know what that number is, and you can just recite it all. Like, hey, it's 21 days right now, and if we don't sell in 21 days, so I'm gonna go back to what you said earlier, Lori. This is the number I told you guys, I'm like, you guys are finding out before Brian tells everyone. If you price the house right, so write these numbers down, you're gonna hit 95.3% of list price, and it's gonna sell in 28 days. You price it right, you're gonna sell at 95.3% of list price in 28 days. Now, this is the kicker. If you just need one price adjustment, just one, what do you think that percentage is? List price to sell price?
8.
Huh?
91.
84.8. So you go from 93% of list price to 84.8% of list price. And how, the other one was 28 days, you got your house sold, so it's pretty close.
123,
What I
More,
mean,
126.
134 days.
All that jump.
Think about that, you guys.
85.
So if you need one price adjustment, it's gonna take you how many months to sell your house? So think back to when we talked about motivation. Because if you understand their motivation, this is where you now bring that in.
So if one price adjustment equals how
One
many
or
days
more.
then?
So 84.8%, and then it was 134 days versus 28 days.
Wow.
Now this
And
again,
that's what it's, the market's showing right now, basically.
this is
Yeah.
it. This is
Yeah.
what ours is saying. And here's what's crazy about that. Now let's go back to when we were talking
Oh.
about their mortgage. Now you can actually do the math on that beforehand and go in and say, well, this is what it's actually costing you, because you're gonna have to spend this much more money on your mortgage. You're gonna have to do this, you're gonna do this. You can go through the entire list. We're on page 30.
so you're paying out of pocket and you're losing money in the end.
Yeah.
So by you overpricing it, and that's it, it's not in the market, you're going back to this graph.
No man.
You're in no man's land, this is how much it's gonna cost you to do that. And so again, if you're not tracking those numbers, start tracking them for yourselves, because it's gonna give you so much power to
How
actually
do
be
we
able to
find
do
that out? Like, that's what,
Well, if you're doing it on your own listings, you can know, when you go into a listing appointment, whether they took your price or not. So you just
no,
start a
I mean,
spreadsheet.
finding out, I guess I could chat GPT it, finding out the percentage. And how long it's, just this, the
Well,
current
the
market
percentage is what price
price.
did you price it out divided by the price you sold it. That's the percentage on that one. And then the days on market is the same.
Yeah, so the
Well,
price that you listed at
Oh, no,
by
yeah.
the price that you sold at.
I do know,
What did he say?
because now you do,
It's list to sell,
right,
that's an easy, right? Then it's just the date, how long it takes.
Yeah.
So what he's doing is he's taking averages, if it's priced right, 95%, 28 days, it's not priced right, 85, and then 30.
134 days, and that's 134 days from original list and 84.8% of original list.
Go, yeah, that days jump, the percentages, everything else, 384 numbers stay the same, it's just that the length went from 123 last month, and it's taken up to 130.
But but see, here's the key, it's because he tracks the numbers and he knows them. So by the way, I'm just curious, if you guys were the seller in a listing appointment and you were going up against anybody else and Wayne came to you and said those numbers, who are you gonna be most likely to list with? So this is Brian's little cheat sheet of how he always did it. It's so funny that selling real estate, you guys, is the same for everybody, and everybody has how they're doing it. But this is where Brian likes to talk about his ear to the rail. You've heard that one. I know you've heard this one. But here's where you're gonna price your house, right? You're gonna price it at X amount. This is the amount we're gonna agree on. And I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna market it like crazy. I'm gonna put it out such that every single buyer out there is going to see your property. And we're gonna do this and we're gonna be watching for the results. And my job is to actually interpret the data for you. I need to have this is where he says, I need to have my ear on the rail and I need to be listening for what the messages are that we're getting. Because we're gonna have two things that are gonna come from you. If I hear that there's an offer coming, then we're just gonna hold tight and wait for that offer to come. But if we don't hear that we have an offer coming, we're going to need to reduce the price. Does all this make sense? And if we reduce the price, it's gonna take you another 30 to 90 days in order to get the offer. And again, it's like putting it in that graphic format, because Rebecca likes graphs, to show them again, all of this is like, I'm telling you the same information every single time we're talking about this.
Can I ask you a question? Why does it take 30 to 90 days if you're reducing the price? Shouldn't that help sell the house?
This goes back to the no man's land, because you overprice it in the first place. So if you are, let's just say you're a buyer and you see a house that's been on the market for 150 days. As a buyer, what do you think of that?
Something wrong.
That's why. You just answered why it takes longer. You just put this perception into the buyer's head that something's wrong with the property. If you price it right at the very beginning, remember 80-20 principle, and you're getting multiple offers from it, that creates the frenzy that then you're gonna actually sell your house for more. And again, I'm gonna just say this again. A house is gonna sell for what a seller is willing to sell it for and a buyer is willing to pay for it. End of sentence. And if you price it too low, list it too low, you're gonna have multiple buyers that are gonna put offers in, which are gonna increase your price. Because buyers are willing to pay X amount for this house. And this is where we have to show them a little bit of economics 101. Because it happens every time. And by the way, in my experience, the first offer was always the best offer too. Whenever I get an offer come in, I have to actually tell my sellers that this is what the market is telling you. And in my experience, this is the best offer. The next offers are going to come in. Terms may be different. This may, whatever it is, may be a little different, but this is what you're going to get. This is what the market's telling you.
What's what James Shaw's got another statistic throws out there.
Mhm.
You want 5 to 7 showings the first week, same thing for the second week.
Mhm.
So after 2 weeks, you should have 10, 15 showing. If you don't have any showing, you're 10% over right from the get go.
That's what I wrote on here too. He said 5 to 7 showings or 2 to 3 weeks is what Brian put in there.
And then if you do get the showing for the offer, you're still 5% over. And he says you gotta strike, because after that first 15 days, you now go into the general pool down the less with everyone else, so you're trying to keep it.
Lost buyer's interest.
Yeah, he's at on that.
I always, when I talked about those reductions, Wayne, here's how I did them. Because why do we reduce that? What's the actual purpose of reducing the house? Find more buyers.
This is definitely a check mark.
Because you've already marketed it to this group of people, right? And you priced it over, and you talked about that earlier. You've already marketed it to everybody. So now we got to go open it up to a whole new pool of buyers. An only price reduction that's actually going to be any kind of accurate has to be enough to open it up to a new set of buyers. And if you don't reduce it enough, then you're just giving away negotiating powers to buyers who are already looking at it.
I say that a lot when we talk about chasing the market down as well, like if you're just gonna reduce it a tiny bit and a tiny bit and a tiny bit and a tiny
That
bit.
doesn't do
They're
good.
just gonna wait and wait and wait until now it's at a steal. And you're.
And that's
you're
why-
so low.
And that's why using all of these tools together,
Yeah,
here's the days on market, here's the this, here's what you need to know. Here's what's happening, what do you think we should do? And that's why I said, like, I used this entire chapter in every single listing appointment over and over and over again. Cause this is like, I'm just giving you the facts. So you get to interpret it and tell me what you wanna do. But if you're telling me you wanna sell in 1 month, there's really only one way to do this, and here's where the price should be. In this
don't
range,
shoot the messenger.
yeah, 1000%. Okay. So let's go to managing and buyer's market, because Rebecca, you said earlier about you want to set the system in place so that you're contacting your sellers regularly, right? And letting them know. And I think in my experience on that one, people, when we're afraid to have the conversation with the seller is when we don't call them, right? We're afraid of what they're gonna say. So we don't have the hard conversation with them. It's gonna be the same conversation over and over and over again. And then the agent who comes in for our expired listing is going to hear, we never heard from our agent. Like, it's the same conversation over and over. So when we're talking about it, offer phenomenal customer service. And this is where if you don't have, here's how I'm going to put together my customer service plan, and here's my expectation. This would be a good time of the year to start putting that together. Because this is like the first level of service will become an issue. The level of service will become an issue if you aren't selling it quickly. So if you're keeping it up for a long time. So set up a systematic plan to provide phenomenal customer service to your sellers. So you're gonna actually increase the frequency, and we'll talk about this on this one, of communication. You're gonna increase the frequency and unique timing of open houses. Again, I also use open houses the same way I use brokers open. Cause then I could get the people coming in and say that the house is overpriced. I had them do a little survey every single time, so then I could present it to the sellers and show them what was going on. That was how I utilized those, and I was picking up more listings. I sold the house great, but that's not why I was holding it open.
Isn't there a statistic that says, open houses really only sell like a certain percentage from the people who are actually coming to look at it?
Very low. I will say though, this year Leslie shared with me over in Inglewood that she'd sold, I think, 4 or 5 houses from open houses this year. He sold 3. So I think they're doable, and I think they're especially more
Were they
accurate when
your
nobody's
open
doing
houses?
houses.
Were they your listings and you got the buyer too?
One of them was the second
Nice.
one, tenants.
Nice.
But definitely, there's people now that they want to see the house,
Yeah.
I'm not messing around, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they love the house enough, they've already seen it online, to your point, I would just confirm it, but if they don't, they're still very good, but it's gonna be quiet.
This is honestly, Wayne, this is where I think that whole buyer broker lawsuit worked in our favor.
Huge.
Because people don't wanna have to go sign a buyer broker agreement with an agent, but they know if they go into an open house, they don't have to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I personally, again, I'm a big open house person, and I live for open houses. It was my database. Open houses were my 2 sets of Legion that I did to do, and then expireds was my 3rd one, but I loved holding the opens because I knew I could pick up so many.
A lot of gated communities you can't get in just on your own as well.
I also looked at what were the house prices I wanted to list, and I do opens there because I knew people were just a little bit outside of one of those, one way or the other, to do that. So I also want to give you another tip on open houses that I used to. Here's something else I coach people to do. Have one house, you could hold it open 3 different times. So during the school year, I had them hold it open right after classes at school started. That way, all my moms could go drop off their kids at school, and then they could stop and see the open house. So it's a weird time because it's like, 8, 9 a.m. in the morning. But you get a whole separate audience when you do that. And then you take the same house and you do a twilight one sometime between 4 and 6. Usually on like a Thursday night when people are out at 4 to 6, pick a time and date. And then one on the weekend. And each one of those, you're going to get a different set of group of people.
That's true.
Golf communities, 11-to-1's golden because you got people changing. And you're coming on, so that's also needed. Bigger sign on the green or on.
The golfer.
Yeah,
Golfers giving us this.
it works, it helps.
But I think what I heard you honestly say, Wayne, is know what is important in the house. And then have your open houses accordingly so that it's not just at the same time. And then send your sellers regular market information. If you don't have people set up on a neighborhood nurture, get with Brad, let him get all your people set up on the neighborhood nurture and all of those kind of things. And then same thing with on your list side. So Rebecca, you can actually set up a smart plan for all your sellers. Like, and some of the smart plan maybe to remind you to send stuff,
Right, yeah.
but you can set up a separate plan for listed houses. Just saying.
Yeah, and
Because I'm a big person, is find the system that you're gonna do and then make it duplicatable and do it over and over and over again.
well, the other thing I did do is with my listings, I set up a search on that community for any changes. For.
If they saw they had a competition.
Yeah, see what's going on with everything.
Super smart. Okay, so let's do what to do and how to do it. So be prepared. Facts work wonders in an emotional situation, like we've talked about. So you're going to want to have the latest in all our statistics, but you're going to factor in a few minutes prep time before the phone call to go over the numbers. So make sure before you're having this conversation about price reductions, and I cannot stress this piece enough, but take all the information you have on your overpriced listing and put it into ChatGPT and let it spit out a bunch of objections and how to get the price reduced, because it works. Talk about the market. So you're going to go over everything that's happened. Talk about their listing. So how many websites has it been hit on? How many showings? What's the feedback from that in the open houses? Reaffirm your commitment to getting their home sold. And then you guys listen, because remember, this is a stressful time for sellers. You just moved like 3 times. Like, was that stressful at all for you? Like, yeah, she's rolling her eyeballs and she's like, it was terrible. I think we can't forget that. Choking myself.
Yeah, I definitely, when I was going through that, I definitely put myself in both the buyers and sellers and shoes,
And you can have a whole different perspective
100%.
when that happens. So just listen to them. Sometimes they just want to be heard. And I love the last one. Always ask for price reduction. They're not always gonna give it to you. You can always ask for it. Okay, page 41.
I put it into my listing. For reasons.
So you put it in when you actually go on the agreement, how do you do that?
Yeah, like on additional terms. Well, in Illinois, it was different. We had it in.
Status form.
Yeah, oh yeah, the status change form.
Okay, my
But I,
too.
yeah, but it's like in 21 days, like if they're not working with me, I'm like, okay, so if we try your price. In 21 days, we're gonna do a
I
price.
do it in a week sometimes, by the way.
And you just put it in additional terms,
Yeah, here I will put in additional terms, yeah.
or have them do the status change.
So I did the modification.
It's in the actual listing agreement, so they've signed it saying that they okay for her to do a price reduction. So then how I would handle it is then like at 20 days, I just let them know, by the way, we did agree, so I'm gonna let you know that your house will be reduced to this price on this day.
Yeah, and I usually bring it up at 14 days, because they're probably getting antsy at that point anyways, so.
And you know, that's interesting because that's another thing that when you don't have to do price reductions, like, I think that was one of the shocking things for Brian and I, when one of the agents came to us, we met someone was like, what's the price reduction? We're like, oh, okay, we got it. They haven't had one, now we understand, but they didn't even know that that was a thing. So it's about actually understanding those concepts. And I was like, what's in the toolbox I haven't used in a minute, that if I pulled it back out would work in this market too. So, okay, get price reductions. Let's talk about that one. That's on page 41.
I can't believe more people aren't in this class.
I'm with you. So I told you this is my favorite class. Now you know why. Okay, get price reductions. Properties that are correctly priced today may be overpriced tomorrow. This again goes to that long thing that we talked about. So when you're getting your price reduction, do it as an ongoing basis, like Trish and I just said, because you know where the price needs to be. The key lies in educating and consulting your sellers until they can clearly see where the price needs to be. So overpriced listings. Now, you know, we talked about it earlier and we say there are going to be listings that we're like, we don't need it. Like, that one's not one we need. Here's some reasons on why you would take an overpriced listing, because there's a couple of reasons why you would. Number one, past customers, it's your database people. You helped them buy this house, now they want to sell it. It's a whole different little dynamic, and we don't want to just say we can't help you because they're part of our database. So we would take an overpriced listing, but this is where I would 100% use that strategy, where I'd have it in the agreement. This is what we're going to agree upon. Hey, we'll try your price, and here's how long we'll try it based off this graph. Knowing the houses that sell right are 28 days. Also need to understand, if we do a price reduction, it may take you 130 days to get it sold.
But sometimes they're safe.
Yeah,
Sometimes they're.
every now and then.
Yeah.
And then an excellent referral. So if you get a referral from somebody that you trust, a property in a farm area you absolutely dominate or want to dominate. So if it's your farm area, you still want your face out there a whole lot. And then a motivated seller. So if you go back to that motivation thing and they're very motivated, they just aren't quite knowledgeable enough to set the price right, you could still take that one. And I'm just gonna say the rest of them, don't take them. Just go find somebody that is motivated and wants to price it correctly. And those people are out there. One of the things I'm gonna say I always dorkily did was I did not want to have to deal with people that were gonna be a problem all the time, right? And so I actually went to Staples and I bought an easy button. That was easy. You guys remember that whole thing? Wayne's laughing. I'm not even joking. The easy button sat in my office on my desk every single day. And whenever anything went easy, I went and pushed it because I was going to attract more of that to myself.
Yes.
I need all the easy ones I can get. I don't need any more of these.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's how I do it.
There's gonna be all these easy buttons.
Yeah, I was just thinking,
It'll be maybe some people can come by and make the whole office be attracted to that.
right?
Because that's how things go. when you take an overpriced listing, the benefits are the same. You're gonna get name recognition, you're gonna get buyer leads. So you're still gonna get the things you want. Just remember, it could also, if it's a farm area, if your yard sign's sitting there for 6 months, they're gonna think that it's your fault, not the seller's fault. So don't forget that. And frustrated sellers are always gonna take their anger out on you. It says can take it, no, they will take their anger out on you and speak negatively about you to others. That does happen. So you here, if you're working towards price reductions, you're gonna need to get longer term listings. Cause 134 days is how long it's gonna take. So it says don't accept anything less than 100. Set expectations from the beginning. And I actually wrote in there what you just said about the price reduction and putting it into the listing agreement. Because you want to make sure that this is the only way I'm gonna take it is if you and I agree on this. And it even says, take out your calendar and set the dates for price reductions in there. And then keep your sellers informed. And again, I'm kind of like Rebecca on this. I think we should be calling our people every week and giving them an update. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's what you hired me for, and it's not all good. So sorry about that. Okay, scheduling your reductions again. This goes back, somebody said something earlier. If you have 10 showings with no offers, you're gonna do a price reduction. Or you're gonna do 2 to 3 weeks without a showing, we need to do a price reduction. And again, this one, I did this one in a graph form. I think you could do something like this, where you did it in your listing presentation. But getting them to understand the gravity of overpricing it for even a short period of time actually will get them to call you for price reductions versus you having to call them for price reductions. And I always liked it when my admin said, hey, so-and-so just called and they want a price reduction. I'd be like, great, go ahead and do it. You never have to ask me. You can reduce it. And then again, this is a formula, 10 to 12 showings with comments, 5% lower price, 10 to 12 showings with no offers, 5%, and then no showings, a 10% lower price. That's just an idea, but again, when you're looking for price reductions, you're looking to open it up to a whole set of buyers. So I almost didn't reduce the price for less than 10,000.
And it depends on what your price point is.
Yeah, it could be 20 or 30 sometimes, if you're higher up there. So you gotta just be kind of looking at that. What is the next piece? If you were a buyer, and this is how I would actually say it, is like if you were a buyer and you were looking to buy this type of house, what would you set your search up for? Because that's
over.
okay, so that means we have to reduce it by that much. You see, like you can put that into kind of their ideas so they understand. Get into the next bracket again. This is talking about it. One of the things too that I always did is I really hated it when people listed their house. They're using 250, so I'm gonna use this for 249
I know, why, I don't understand, why do they do
because
that?
they think that the 9s are like a better like draw to buy. But I literally hated reducing a house to that because nobody's searching for 249 now. You're gonna search at 250, which means if they could pay 249.9, they just like they never see your house because you're 249.
Yeah,
And that to me, it says that after 40 years in retail, it says a wrong connotation.
Now, I think you should negotiate it when, and this is what I'd always tell my sellers, we can negotiate the price to be something like this if you want to negotiate it, but I would not encourage for your first, which, a listing is your first offer as a listing, right? When you list your property, you're putting an offer out to all the buyers. Here's my house. I'm going to offer it for $350.
and I think I also was told a few times that when a person gets a pre-approval, it goes in tens. Like 110, 120, 130, not 125.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of the same way.
And we have to, I just never understood why the 9, not like, was it a strategic thing? Cause I wasn't getting it and I don't like numbers. So I was like, I just, whatever.
It was somebody that didn't know what they were doing to list it.
Yeah.
Is the answer to
The
that.
lower number looks better though.
What now?
Like a lower number.
That's what I think. But
Yeah.
if you're searching for it, like she said, you're not gonna search in that way. So you gotta think about what are the parameters that you're putting in when you're searching for.
Well,
the
if somebody's looking
And that's-
400 to 450, like that,
Right,
and you reduce the price to 399.9 by $10,
they're missing
they're
it.
missing out,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So you pull yourself completely out of a whole new search bracket.
Because you're gonna be the lowest price point in that group.
And any agent who's really looking at it is like, it's $1, come on, I mean, it's not, the lower.
You have to accept
the lower
this offer.
price
Counter it back.
Isn't really psychologically, I don't think the lower, to an agent anyway, the lower price is affecting the desire for the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, on a search right now from 300 to 500, so that, yeah, I didn't even think about it that way, interesting. Okay.
Remember that advertising does not sell houses, people do. Again, this is my getting on the marketing thing. Listings do not have to be more expensive than the cost of the sign and the art and the lockbox. The emphasis of your sales strategy should be time, service oriented, and not marketing oriented. So again, rather than placing advertising or use your network to call people looking for a buyer. It's one of the things that I actually loved that Tony DeSoto also did was on the first of the month, he sent out a listing to every single person in his database. And by the way, it was a black and white sheet of paper. And it was, here are all of my listings that I have for sale right now. Do you have a buyer for them? That was what he sent out to his entire database. The next one on the 15th, he sent out, here are all my buyers. And he had a list of the buyers and their wants and needs. Do you know a person that has this home for sale? And he sent that out every month. So by the way, when he went on his listing appointments, he told them every person in my database is going to get to see your house. Here's what is going to happen. So I think actually understanding how do you use what you're already doing or what you could be doing to sell the house versus putting your face on a billboard or whatever, because there's no relationship in that either. Okay. Mind your language. It may only be a subtle difference, but changing the wording and price reductions may actually alter the negative connotation. So they talked about saying a price improvement, price adjustments, price corrections. So maybe when you're having the conversation with the sellers, don't say price reduction. Just like when we say lead generation, people automatically start squirming. But we could actually change the word into something different. And most people, if I said, well, instead of saying lead generation, if I said, well, we're going to go to a networking event and we're going to go talk to as many people, most people are like, oh yeah, I'll do that. But it's lead gen. Like it's the same thing. It's just about changing how your perception is of that word.
I'm gonna start calling it my bank. Call your bank.
There you go. That's why they do call it the data bank, by the way.
Oh, that's true.
That is
Yeah,
why
that
it's
was
that.
at Gene Rivers.
I think Jason Abrams actually
Oh, Jason.
tagged that and used it, and then he still calls it data bank.
Yes.
So whatever you guys want to call it.
He's coming in Orlando, December 5th.
Jason is, yes. I saw you already signed up.
I did, yeah.
Okay. Determine a point where your overpriced listings will no longer be viable in terms of time or money, and be prepared to walk away with no hard feelings. I will say one of the things that I loved on that one is one of my coaches taught me one time the takeaway and said, you know what? I don't see any way that we can sell this house for $450. I think it's really the market right now is saying that we could sell it for $400. So I'll tell you what, I can't take it because I'm just be wasting your time and my time. So how about this? I'll give you a call when I know that your house can sell for $450. Now you've just done a takeaway because now if they really want to sell, they're like, no, wait. So that's another way. It's just becoming you like that one, didn't you? You're like, oh, I could see you doing that one. For sure. So think about what are the strategies and all that. And then this one said auction your listings. It's human nature. People always want what they cannot have. So create desire for your listings by marketing your well-priced listings that are in good condition as coming soon. I wanted to ask you guys, can we do this? Because I was like, can this one even happen here? Because I was like, I might just have to skip this page.
I think it's illegal. I think you can do it 24 hours before on social media, or like 3 days before to your own brokerage.
So you can do your own brokerage, but I don't know about social media.
No, it's 24 hours.
24 hours.
Yeah.
Now, I say what you can do though, because you can actually list it and have it actually listed, but not accept offers for a couple of days. And you can set, so I do know a couple of agents that will list that every house gets listed on Thursday. Every single one of their houses get listed. They do open houses Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They'll accept offers during that whole entire time, but they actually won't present anything to the sellers until Monday. And that way they're actually getting, this is what you do, especially when houses are flying off the market, to give you a few more days to market it, to get some more buyers and to do all those things.
If you do open houses when the houses are flying off the market, so if you're doing I had suggested back in 22, when that was still happening, is list the home on Friday, have open houses all day, Saturday, Sunday, but allow showings 15 minutes and allow overlap, so create FOMO.
Yeah.
I do like to create FOMO.
Mhm.
Y'all know that.
Yes.
How do we get people to come to stuff? You create FOMO inside the room and make people want to be here. Otherwise, it's not value, it's a value problem.
That's what that 72 sold was doing.
Yeah,
Was
100%.
doing that.
The only thing I didn't like about the 72 sold is they wanted my sellers to actually go to my selling agents to go to every showing. I was like,
Yeah.
that is a complete and utter waste of time. I'm gonna tell every single one of my clients not to do that. You could send your buyer's agent out there. I don't care, but you're worth too much money to be standing there showing. That's how I felt about that one. Okay, offer concessions in a buyer's market. Sellers need to be prepared to make financial concessions. And I think having this conversation up front, again, when we go back to what's their net, what's their cost, hey, we might have to negotiate on terms. So maybe I've even had some of them do a lease back where they wanted to stay in the house longer. We could negotiate it so that it closes, that whole thing gets through, but they don't actually move out for another month or two when they do a lease back. So really getting clear on what are the terms that the seller wants, what's important to them, and preparing them for what could come. So if you're seeing a lot of a trend happening, make sure you're sharing it on the listing appointments. That is happening. So bottom line, there may be no one single factor more important to getting a house sold than price. Everyone can say it at once. It's the price, you guys. Doesn't have anything else to do with anything else. Yet many sellers without your expert guidance will miss the point about the cost advantage of selling quickly, thinking that they have a pretty good price. So make sure, again, you're analyzing your MLS, you know your area so you can preview more houses than usual, study the law of supply and demand, create graphs to visually represent the data. And I think we agreed that Claude's the way to do that, right? Rebecca, based on what you did today. Okay. Use formulas such as the absorption rate and the activity index. And remember the advantage if you price correctly. The more properties you price correctly, the more buyers you will attract. The more buyers you attract, the more listings you can sell to them. The more you sell, the more the market share you will acquire, gaining name recognition, more buyers, and more listings. And understand the only properties in the right condition at the right price for their location are going to sell in a buyer's market. And again, I've been like, when we're in a slower period of time, I want you guys to be thinking about market share. Because the more listings you have, the more market share you're gonna get. And then when you get market share in a down market, you never have to give it back. You get to keep it. So if you're not looking at market share, you guys might consider it.
What do you mean?
More listings. Taking listings, as many listings as possible. That way the whole area knows you.
Lori lists so many houses and she gets all of them sold quickly for the most amount of money. I want to make sure that I use Lori for my agent. That's market share because it's perception.
Yeah.
Perception is reality. Also, if you're not like the second a house sells, I always like hire a runner or a teenage person, get somebody over there to get slap a sold sign on it as soon as possible. Because you want everyone in that neighborhood to see how fast you sold that house. And if you wait until they pull up the sign and leave, then they don't ever actually know that you sold it that quickly. So I actually bought magnetic sold signs that just went straight across like my sign. Just I wouldn't cover up my name, but I would just make sure that it got a big sold sign slapped on it. So I said slap to the magnetically stuck to it. I put those on both sides of it. And everybody knew it was sold.
Unless you circle prospect.
Huh? Yeah,
Then you should-
and then you should do that too, right?
Yeah.
And all the ways that you can do it. So here's two, in here is some scripts. So I'm here to discuss some factual information about our marketplace. What I'm gonna do is show you not necessarily what you want to see, but as your agent, I feel it's my responsibility to give you the data you need to know in order to be able to make good decisions about selling your home in the shortest amount of time. That was Steve Tufts, by the way, Rebecca. That just said Steve Tufts said that one. Mhm. Also like the commodities one, the Go Fish one, we all love.
Yeah.
And if you bought stock late in the year and that stock was worth $49 per share, and today you need to sell that same stock and it's now worth $25 per share, what could we sell it at? 25, now 49. So again, those are some good ones. There's another Diana one and another Bradley. And so there's some more ones in here. If you guys want to read through these and learn about any other pricing objections. And then on the one that says my action plan, I want you guys to go through and look at what the challenge is, what you rate yourself, and then any action steps you need to do such that your listing presentation after you've taken this class shows everything we just talked about. So like I know what the opportunities are for both myself and my sellers if we price their home correctly. You feel like you gave yourself a 10, then you don't have any action steps. A regular review sources for local regional market. And what I'm gonna say is you might not, there's 14 of these. You might not do all of them well, but find the one that is the big, it makes the biggest difference to what you're doing right then, and then put it in as an action step to change it. And then go back and relook at it after you've made that one change. Does that make sense? Don't try to make them all at once. Might not be able to do that, but we can change them one at a time.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, like
Yeah, that's like really good for an action step thing. I really love that. That's why I want to make sure I pointed it out.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that is literally how I did that. I was talking with Lori about that earlier. I had an idea book that I came up with all my ideas or all the things I needed to implement. And I put them all in my little idea book. And then I would go through it and look and say, what's the one of these that if I were to make that, if I were to put that into place, it would make the biggest difference in my business. And that'd be the only one that I focused on. I get it done, I can mark it off, and then I go read the book again for idea books. And what I didn't tell you earlier is what was interesting that I found. Because I go to family reunion, right? You get all this stuff and say you're writing it all down. You think you're going to come back and implement like 50 things. And how many of those 50 things do you actually implement, Rebecca? I'm gonna say actually zero.
Girl, we're one.
Most people actually do zero of that because it's so much they get stuck.
so much.
They're like, it's
You
like,
get overwhelmed.
you're completely overwhelmed, so you do nothing. So what's the one thing that if you did it, it would make the biggest difference? Do that, then you can go back. And then what I found is I got to at some point where I was like, oh, I don't really need to do that anymore. And so some of those ideas I just scratch off and I never even had to do. They sounded great at the time, but then I didn't need them.
I need an idea book.
I just got one.
I thought it was pretty.
Oh,
Oh, sure.
I just,
Pass them to your
yep, I just
creativity.
found one that I was like, this is a pretty book. And then I literally wrote idea book and I stuck it on my shelf.
Oh, awesome.
And then I just pulled it out whenever I had a good idea.
I can draw in it, dollar store.
I can draw.
Awesome.
I mean. I need crayons.
I
Sometimes I draw it.
Best dollar ever spent.
You know, that would be to draw in the idea, but I can't draw.
Well, I can't either, but like like the brain map, like I wanna do this and this is what I need to do. It's like, it looks like a sun. This is what I need to do. It's here.
She's a spatial learner.
Yeah,
You guys,
now then I just need to implement them or just not maybe all of them.
and if you really want to be an overachiever,
I do.
okay, and then with that idea book, you pick the one thing and then you make a 1-3-5 on the one thing.
Okay, now we went crazy.
If you want to be an overachiever.
I wanna know more about that. I do.
So you know what was interesting is my OP was Sherry Lewis. She was my OP and she was my RD. All the things. Can you guys imagine being Georgia being our OP? That'd be fun, wouldn't it? I had Georgia as my OP and RD. But one of the things that she taught me was she actually had she used it as a one sheet, like it was the concept of the 1-3-5, but it was about an action item thing. So here was my goal. Here were the things I had to do to achieve the goal. And then she made me write a date as to when I was going to achieve each thing that I was going to
Yeah.
achieve.
Yeah,
On that.
I kind of do need that. 'Cause
Yeah,
I need
and it
that.
was
It's
very-
that, for me, that's structure.
It was very helpful
Too many
for
balls
me to
flying
do
in the
that
air.
every single time. So I kind of got in the habits of doing a 135 without
So
following it.
135.
GPS, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
okay, cause I was like, that sounds really like a GPS,
it
but I
used
thought
to
maybe
call
it
it
was like
135.
a little,
It used to be called 135, now it's a GPS.
I thought it was
and
like the
still think it's
sister to the
great.
GPS.
So
Right.
on Monday, we did the vision board.
Uh-huh.
And so I sent it back to Brad and he critiqued it, sent it back to me and said, this is great, you need to add dates of when you're gonna accomplish every single one of this. And I thought that was spectacular, I was like, that's awesome, Brad,
Like,
thank you for
can we
that.
put
Yeah.
theirs
I'm
on
like,
class
thanks for pushing
again?
me.
Yeah. What's that?
Thanks for pushing me.
Yeah.
I didn't do a date.
Yeah, but you had mentioned something about the dates, so it made me think of that. That's really
Can
good.
we do that class again?
I need
Which
to
one?
do that too for you guys.
The
I want
vision
to
board?
do that.